Goodness gracious. Welcome back to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. We are bringing you the news. We're bringing you analysis. We're bringing you commentary. And we're bringing you debate. It is the Wells Report. Glad you are here. We've had some major technical difficulties today. I hope you are not upset. I know I am. Kind of wasted half the broadcast here. But I have to claim operator error in some cases, and I hope you will forgive me as I sort of muff this edition of the Wells Report. Looks like we'll be able to get the last half of the broadcast figured out and handled reasonably well, but I believe you might be able to find us now. We are live streaming on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And we finally got that going. People were trying to find us because I started the broadcast on the wrong account. I mangled it. And so on and so forth. And we've been talking a little bit about the mistakes that we've made as voters in the United States. All of this comes to a head when a black-clad man with implements of destruction, weaponry, shows up at Brett Kavanaugh's house to kill him. And then himself. That's exactly what happened. It happened last night. It happened in the wee hours of this morning, actually. Empowered by Chuck Schumer standing on the stairs of the Supreme Court building, telling an absolute hysterical crowd that if the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, they will reap the whirlwind. And the whirlwind came calling in the wee hours of this morning to Justice Brett Kavanaugh. The man is sitting in jail, probably will be for the rest of his natural life. And should be. But there are accessories to this crime. One of them is Ruth Sent Us, the pro-abortion group that publicize the private addresses of conservative justices on the Supreme Court of the United States. Will they be arrested as co-conspirators? Normally that would happen, but then again, in order for that to happen, you'd have to have something called the FBI. The FBI is now just a political action committee as opposed to a law enforcement agency. So where are they? Where is the indictment for Ruth Sent Us? For trying to get a United States Supreme Court justice or several of them killed. Where's accountability for Chuck Schumer? The political androids in his state continue to send him back to Washington, D.C. The man's an anti-American, shrill loon. He needs to be retired. Chuck Schumer has more political positions than the Kama Sutra. Yes, this is live, Kelly. I finally figured it out. Yes. There's a chat room that you can join us on. Kelly Lyons is laughing at me as loud as she possibly can. The people from the Oklahoma Department of Transportation were watching this and listening to this broadcast until I screwed it up. Hopefully they're still there. I don't know. I wouldn't blame them if they told me to buzz off. But yeah, this is I've mangled the first half of this broadcast, but I will unmangle said same, and we will have a fine broadcast coming up. By the way, this is like the third time I've gone through some of this material because I just discovered a while back when I was trying to get in touch with Kelly Lyons and say, hey, yeah. I said, hey, can you find us? She says, no, you're not live anywhere. I'm not. And then I'm sitting here looking over this. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? All the while coming up with this wonderful monologue, this wonderful broadcast, this reporting of news, the analysis, the facts, the commentary and the debate. I'm doing all of that. And I just realized that I didn't hit the go live button on the web page on the. So I was sitting here in this studio, brilliantly adorned in my casual best, talking to myself. And now Kelly's here, informing me that the people from the Oklahoma Department of Transportation who are now listening to this broadcast live for a change are rolling in the aisles, laughing at my inability to master technology. So that's what I love about this audience. They give me endless reams of gas when I screw up. I have a migraine. Help me. More of the Wells Report, I'm sure this time, coming up in just a moment. Oh, wait. Did I just screw up again? Let me see what I got here. Oh, yes, I just screwed up again. I just realized, or did I? Yeah, I've got 14 minutes. Hi, welcome to the Wells Report. I have screwed this up 15 different ways from Sunday today. Please, it's all my fault. But by all means, join us as we bring you the news and the issues of the day. We've talked about the guy showing up trying to kill Justice Brett Kavanaugh. We've talked about the co-conspirators, the Democrat Party in the form of Chuck Schumer, the President of the United States refusing to condemn the doxing, the actual publication of Supreme Court justices' private addresses, because they wanted to send the thugs out. They wanted to intimidate the justices into changing their mind regarding Roe v. Wade. A completely misunderstood, anti-American decision by the 1973 Supreme Court of the United States. To be repaired. To be repaired by this Supreme Court of the United States. And all the leftist crazy people are now exposed as leftist crazy people who have lived on this law. And oh, by the way, the records are clear. The very same people who have lived on this Roe v. Wade decision have killed at least 50 million Black Americans. 50 million. Joseph Stalin only killed 20 million Russians. Adolf Hitler only killed 6 million Jews. Planned Parenthood has killed at least 50 million Black children. And all the while ignored the reality of their evil work, trying to call it something else. Stalin wanted to purify the political process in the Soviet Union. Hitler wanted to purify the country of Germany from all of the Jews. Planned Parenthood, who's committed, at last count, 55 million abortions in the Black community alone. If those babies come to full term, that's at least 50 million Black Americans missing. Which is why when we started keeping track of the demographic information of the United States back through the censuses, every 10 years, we discovered there are about 11 to 13% African Americans living in the country. Black Americans living in the country. The 2020 election showed that there were about 11 to 13% Black Americans in the country. How? Because of Roe v. Wade, that's how. Because of the empowerment of Planned Parenthood, founded by a racist eugenicist. And that still exists in that organization, and the United States government continues to pay them because of LBJ's Great Society. The American Black family, all but gone. All but gone. These people running in the streets, talking about how Black Lives Matter. They're protesting against the wrong people. They should be protesting against Planned Parenthood. That's what they should be protesting, but they're not. It's awful. I'm sorry, I was laughing at somebody on the text. So we almost got a Supreme Court justice killed. How far are we going to go? How far are we, the people of the United States, going to allow this to continue? How much longer? These people are using the electoral process enshrined in the Constitution of the United States and states all around the country. They're using the electoral process to further a degenerate and evil political agenda. It crystallizes in this correction of what was the judicial branch of our nation creating law. That's not the way it works. But then again, if you have 2 or 3 generations of kids who don't have any idea just exactly how the government of the United States works, well, you can get away with it. They believe that if a federal judge makes a decision, we have a law. No, that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. Roe v. Wade declared laws that banned abortions illegal. The objective then was for the Congress of the United States to codify that decision as law, since the Supreme Court of the United States, based on the Constitution, could not do that. Did the legislature act? No. Nobody wanted to touch it. It was political fire. It was political napalm. Nobody wanted to be on record as supporting the destruction of children in utero. The solutions are simple. The solutions for all of this are very, very simple. All you got to do is determine when a person is a person. We know when a person stops being a person, when their heart stops, but we haven't figured that out in the United States, that we can also define when life begins. Not morally, not philosophically, legally. We can determine when life begins. As life ends with a heartbeat stopping, I say life begins legally when a heartbeat begins. I saw videotape of ova, human eggs, being fertilized by a sperm. When that happens, there's a flash of light. Where does it come from? I know where it comes from. For me, life begins at conception, but that's not going to be a legal reality. What can be a legal reality is when that heart starts beating. That's somebody else's body. If a woman does not want to be a vessel of someone else's body, then don't get pregnant. There's technology available to both prevent and then stop even a possible pregnancy. Of course, in order to have all of that, you must first take responsibility for the fact that you carry babies. If I had a daughter, she would know that she was capable of carrying babies, and to please make that decision rationally as best you can with the right mate and with the right capability of being able to bring those babies up. It is a leap of faith made by young married couples in the human existence for 400,000 years. It can be done. But in this world where accountability seems to only be foisted on one gender. And the society has gone as far as it possibly can to facilitate irresponsibility on the part of half of the people of the United States. And then absolutely sunder the other half of the people, that being the male population. We've been treated like jackasses for the last 50 years. Women have been empowered beyond reason for the same time, ably assisted by the Supreme Court of the United States in 1973. Women say, no one else is going to control my body. Well, how about if you do it? You have the technology. You can have everything you wish. But you don't get to control someone else's body. You can control your own. But when that baby is a human being, when that life inside you is growing and turns into a human being legally, all that stops. Then you have a level of responsibility. And there are good things about it. Women carrying children are the crucible of the new human existence. Why would you want to give that up? You know if you're pregnant within 8 weeks. If you don't want to proceed, then don't. You do have that control. Go right ahead. It's legal. It will remain legal. But the very best way to handle this is a responsibility before you find yourself in that position. Oh, but what about rape and incest, John David? What about rape and incest? What about that? What are we going to do? What do we got? To get back to Planned Parenthood, who have committed 55 million abortions in the black community alone, that is not rape and incest. The percentage of those people that were raped by either someone outside the family or inside the family is infinitesimal. Infinitesimal. That is an absurd argument based on a micro percentage of reality. We've empowered people beyond reason. We have empowered people beyond reasonableness. And there are people that are trying to and should reverse the mistakes that this society made. Where are all these black American leaders? Am I the only one that can figure out that they're missing 50 million of their brothers and sisters? Am I the only one that can figure that out? Or maybe I'm just the only one with the guts to actually say it. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Everybody throws the word genocide around like it's just the typical ubiquitous explanation for people losing their lives. But Planned Parenthood has carried out a genuine genocide. And Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all of these people that have led the black community for all of these years have said nothing about it. Nothing. They have done nothing about it. Nothing. And they have the guts to call Clarence Thomas Uncle Tom. Oh, really? Really? And Roe v. Wade is the crux of it. And leftist politicians, Democrat politicians kissing up to leftists, fomenting hate and miscontent within the crowd. Chuck Schumer bravely talking about how the reversal of Roe v. Wade will unleash a whirlwind, threatening Supreme Court justices. And then some thug shows up this morning at 1:50 a.m. to do his evil work, Chuck Schumer's evil work. Is Chuck Schumer going to be held accountable for that? Will Ruth Sentus have members of their particular degenerate group sent to jail for this? How many judges are we going to kill before this is over with? Yesterday, I played a speech by Matthew McConaughey who said we should return to family values. We should return to American values. We should. Those American values are enshrined in something called the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights that attend it. We can't even get an election done because of these people, because of these leftist crazy nuts that will do anything up to include an absolutely illegal manipulation of elections. And the mainstream media just going right along with it. This isn't the mainstream media. This is the Wells Report. Okie dokie. Yeah. Hey, Charles, what's going on, man? You guys still with us? Now that there's an us to be with? Yeah, that was really dumb. That was real stupid. That was stupidity. Stupidity, stupidity, stupidity. All right, let's get on to some other things. Let's get on with some other things here. Okay, how much time we got? 1 minute and 8 seconds, and then we have then we have about 5 minutes. 5 minutes and 50 seconds. 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Okay. Okay. Ha. Gosh, how dumb this is. So stupid. Such a dummy. I knew this was going to happen someday. I was literally talking for an entire segment because I forgot to hit the stream. Start the stream. Kelly Lyons, quote of the day. What a dumbass. Yes. Yes, I am. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Kelly Lyons is a friend of this broadcast. She's also a Democrat. Not a leftist. A Democrat. You know, there were times when Democrats actually cared about the nation. Cared about the people they were supposedly trying to represent. What happened to those people? Well, there's one right here who says this. Absolutely, John David, abortion is murder. There are hundreds of free and accessible ways for a woman to prevent a pregnancy. So if she's too lazy, open parentheses, and that is what it is for many, close parentheses, to prevent a pregnancy, then she should be held responsible to carry the child to full term. She can give the child up for adoption, but the child has a right to be born. Rape or incest should be the only reason for an abortion. And this is coming from a lifelong Democrat. Rape victims are given Plan B. So are victims of incest. They're given Plan B. That is a medication that ends a pregnancy. There are no excuses to perpetuate what is continuing murder. States around the nation have passed what they call the heartbeat bill. When an embryo's heart begins to beat, that is a human being. And while a woman is justified in saying, nobody is going to tell me what I can do or don't do with my own body, most of American law describes what you cannot do with someone else's body. And that's what that would be, as it should be. This is 2022. It's not 1968. The pill made pregnancy optional for those who could take it. Planned Parenthood, before it became an abortion mill, made it possible for women to have the pill if they chose it, or any number of other contraceptions if they chose it. So all of this Roe v. Wade nonsense was just a way for the Supreme Court of the United States to make a law that still doesn't exist because the law was never valid in the first place and yet has been in place for nearly 50 years. It is a blight on the American conscience. It will never go away. Planned Parenthood's genocide of the American black population is a matter of record. And yet, the government of the United States forgoes funding the American Cancer Society, forgoes funding the American Heart Association, but continues to fund Planned Parenthood. An echo from something called the Great Society, a mid-60s utopian vision of the United States of America that was essentially a solution in search of a problem. It destroyed the black family. And it has destroyed at least 50 million black human beings. And none of those people have found themselves in a Nuremberg-like accounting where their lives end. Not with stainless steel, but with manila hemp. A snapping, cracking, choking at the end of a life, deserved by genocidal maniacs. Doesn't happen. All we can do now is relegate Planned Parenthood into the genocidal ash bin of evil. And then, after that happens, mark that as 0 day. The day after will be day number 1 in a post-Planned Parenthood world. Then 2, then 3. And when those days number 10,000, we might be able to live with ourselves. People say the United States government is racist. with every dollar that they give to Planned Parenthood, the American government proves that those people are correct. And all of this irrelevant whirlwind surrounding Roe v. Wade is nothing more than a smokescreen for the evil that Planned Parenthood does. A smokescreen. And with a mainstream media that adds to the smoke instead of tries to clear it. Another day goes by where Planned Parenthood continues its evil work. This is the Wells Report. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 4 minutes now. Back in a minute. "30 seconds to spare. He's back." Sorry you had to watch nothing there for a while. Man, what a screw up. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. The news, analysis for fact, commentary that discusses the news and the fact, sadly, in many ways, not the same thing. And that's because the mainstream media has blown it. They've blown their constitutional mandate to tell you what you need to know to be the American that you need to be. What they do is they tell you the kind of American they want you to be. You know, I added it up. If you take the 1,000 or so representatives of we, the people of the United States, also enshrined in the Constitution, if you add up the 1,000 people in representative government service in Washington, D.C., and then what you do is you add the mainstream media, about 25,000 people who will tell you how to be the American they want you to be instead of the American you want you to be. It's only about 26,000 people that stand there and lecture us every single day about what you should be thinking, what you should be doing, who you should be voting for. And when that doesn't work, they just start distorting the elections until they get the reaction they want, until they get the numbers they want to justify what is a proven to be degenerate political agenda, which the mainstream media foists on you as if it's some sort of absolute mandate. And if you disagree, my God, we're going to throw you in jail. And that's exactly what they do. The January 6th Commission is going to have this propaganda extravaganza tomorrow. They're going to say that Donald Trump was the ringleader of an insurrection that shook the very roots of democracy in the United States of America. The worst such disruption since the Civil War. Well, what they should have said, it was the biggest disruption of democracy in the United States since the last Democrat National Convention. The last newscast, quote unquote newscast on CNN, which is nothing more than a fascist foisting of what you should be doing and thinking and believing and who you should be voting for, as opposed to what you think you should be doing, the votes you think you should be making. I'm under no such pretense. The Wells Report is about you. It's about us. It's about we the people. It's about American family values. It's about American values. It's about constitutional values. It's about the values that built the shining city on a hill that people want to live in. And we should make it possible, legally. You should have to want to be here. You should not take advantage of what you find here. We should have a just government, just law enforcement. We should have enforcement of our laws that is fair and blind and equal. And we don't. Bipartisanship is code for ruling class. The parties, the two-party system, should be adversarial, not cooperative. Because when they cooperate, you get left out of their decision-making, and they're there to represent you, not to represent themselves. This is not government of the government, for the government, by the government. This is government of we, the people. A government of the people, for the people, by the people. A government that operates to the advantage and benefit of the American people, not in spite of them. That is what we find today. We find the government acting in spite of us. We must do better, and we have a chance. We have a chance in 2022 not to elect, the God-blessed Republican that is going to somehow defeat the disgusting and horrible Democrat. No, we have a chance to send our neighbor to Washington to represent us instead of sending a politician to represent his party or her party, to represent her very, very bizarre idea of what America should be. AOC. Thanks, Brooklyn. Thanks, Brooklyn. Your decision at the ballot box to send Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Washington, D.C. deprived a soon-to-fail bar in Queens, New York of a mouthy but cute blowhard bartender. And somehow she was able to co-opt the entire Democrat Party with 3 of her buddies. 3! Or that's what Democrats will tell you. That socialist bent in the Democrat Party is deep and ingrained. Racist hatred powered socialism. And with the mainstream media dutifully extolling the virtues of all of this degeneracy, fascism. Fascism to go with it. Someone who dares to argue finds himself or herself with the oppressive weight of IRS investigations, FBI investigations, investigations of their personal lives, a violation of the Fifth Amendment to go out and find everybody's texts and everybody's communication made privately, but somehow defined as not being private, in order for them to testify against themselves in a court of what? Because it's certainly not law. In a court of American politics. And that leads us out here. I've been criticized in my career for talking about things that are not sensational and not populist to the point of ignoring reality. Here's another one. In other words, John David, you're just too cerebral. What you're trying to do is trying to foist trust and belief in the American people and the wisdom of the population enshrined in the words "we the people." And, you've got to talk to like a high school sophomore. You got to talk about TikTok instead of real talk. And maybe why I'm coming to you on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and on a live stream instead of a coast-to-coast radio network. That may be why. Because I'm not Alex Jones, who will tell you that the government of the United States is not only run by the wrong people, but in fact is a cabal of people trying to destroy the nation. Now, that's true. But I base my discernment on facts. Alex bases his on flexing adrenaline junkiness. It's awful. Cleo Marchese's checked in. Good to have you here, Cleo. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. So here's one of those things that we need to stop. There's a guy that runs the Justice Department. He is the Attorney General of the United States. His name is Merrick Garland. Today, in Washington, D.C., he, as the representative of the Justice Department, their very name more of a relic of what they used to be as opposed to what they are. Merrick Garland outlined a broad inquiry today into the delayed police response to the Uvalde, Texas school massacre that left 19 children and 2 teachers dead in one of the worst campus attacks in U.S. history. The Attorney General said a team led by a contingent of outside law enforcement experts would seek information from all responding police agencies, school officials, family members of the victims, and witnesses. We have been promised, and assured and welcomed by every level of law enforcement. That's right. Because what if they told you to buzz off? Oh my God. They'd find themselves being investigated. They'd find themselves with a transcript of their latest texts, private conversations, thrown in front of them and say, hey, if you don't play ball, we're going to take you out. And they do it over and over and over. Why? Because the government of the United States has refused to update their thinking to where what I share with you, this a public broadcast, I'm certainly willing to be held accountable for. My private conversations with my friends, my family, those are off limits. Those are my intellectual property, but they haven't passed a law protecting your intellectual property, your emails. And so Steve Zuckerberg and all of these other people running big tech, they've somehow said, well, all that data is ours because it's on our network. No, it's not. There used to be a network very much like Meta, which is what they call themselves now. It used to be Facebook, Twitter, all of these agencies. There used to be an agency like that. It was called AT&T, Ma Bell. They had a public utilities monopoly on communications in among people of the United States. You could pick up your telephone, that's what they called it then. You pick up a telephone and you call someone, anyone, and that conversation was private. In order for the FBI to eavesdrop on your conversation, they had to go to a judge. They had to show probable cause. They had to get permission for a wiretap, and then they could tap your phone. Now, everything you say, everything you text, every email you send, every communication you make is recorded in what's called a federal data hub. It's not just one. There are several of them all over the world. Google, the company is called Alphabet. Google knows more about you than anybody except for Red China because, well, Red China is able to get into Google anytime they want to. Because nobody said, hey, your intellectual property is yours. Because the government of the United States will not act. Because they are run by politicians who are run by who? Run by who? Sure as hell not us. Should be. Should be we the people. And so now the Justice Department is outlining a broad inquiry into the Uvalde school massacre. And they're being welcomed by every single law enforcement entity in Uvalde. The sheriff and police department, and of course the Border Patrol. Because they know that if they argue, they're going to end their careers, probably in disgrace and shame. You know what needs to happen here? The Justice Department needs to butt out. The people of Uvalde know what to do. They know what to do. The voters know. They should have a new sheriff. They should have a new chief of police. They should have new police officers doing what the police officers in place could not do, which is keep the schools in Uvalde safe. And that should be something that resonates throughout the land. More in a moment. This is the Wells Report. I want to know who our neighbor is. Well, Martha, I want you to search your mind right this very moment. Somebody in your neighborhood is capable of going to Washington, D.C. and representing you. You know who that person is right now. Who is it? Who is it? Like there's somebody here, Kelly Lyons. Kelly Lyons could be a congressperson from Oklahoma. But if she runs, then the machinations of the media and the political powers that be and so on and so forth will come together and try to destroy her or drown her in oppositional money, throw her into disgrace and ruin her life. Same thing with me. I should run for Congress. Can you imagine me in Congress? I should run for Congress. But you know what? If I run for Congress, my life will be destroyed. Is it because you have so much to hide, John David? No, I have no problems whatsoever, as far as I'm concerned. And even if I did, even if I didn't, even if there were no problems whatsoever, if I was as pure as the driven snow, if I was Mitt Romney, then they would go back and just make stuff up and then brag about it. Harry Reid, the former majority leader of the United States Senate, flat slandered Mitt Romney. Flat slandered him. And what happened? When it was found to be a lie, he said, well, it worked, didn't it? No, it didn't work. By the way, would Mitt Romney make a great president? No, and hell no. He's a political android. I like people with dirt on their shirts. I like people that have scars. I like people who have learned from their mistakes. Those are the people that need to be in Washington, D.C. Somebody that brings something more than an artificial, perfect reputation. Look what those people with perfect reputations have done to this nation and continue to do. By the way, thanks very much, Colonel. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've lost only about 40 pounds. Mostly from the neck up. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is still up for grabs, although I got this wonderful letter from Frontier Communications, the worst communications company in the world. They sent me congratulating me on my new telephone line. Did any technician show up to actually install that telephone line? The answer is no. But they sure are billing me for it. Huh? But sooner or later, you're going to be able to call me, and I'll be able to answer that telephone. I can hardly wait. It'll be fun. I'll be able to hear from you, and we'll be able to talk. Instead of basically depending on the chat room that we have available to you on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. Although I'm having trouble with LinkedIn. Give me time. Give me time. It is the Wells Report. We were talking about the Justice Department outlining a broad inquiry into the delayed police response to the Uvalde, Texas school massacre. They should butt out. They should butt out. There is nothing for the Justice Department to do in Uvalde, Texas. Nothing. There is no inquiry required. People of Uvalde will figure this out. Thank you very much. How dare you come out of Washington, D.C. with your supposed invincible federal power and start second-guessing the people on the ground. You have no idea what happened in Uvalde, Texas. You have no idea. Were mistakes made? Probably. Did people not do what they should have done? Yeah. Does that have anything to do with the Justice Department of the United States? The answer is no. It doesn't. Has nothing to do with it. What are they going to do with their inquiry? They're going to go in there and second guess and Monday morning quarterback and absolutely screw up a whole bunch of other lives, collateral damage. Then they're going to walk back to Washington, D.C. and say, see, my gosh, we did good today. No, you didn't. What you did is impose yourself on a neighborhood that is reeling from the loss of their children. All the funerals aren't finished yet, and yet the DOJ is showing up. How nice. How nice. The DOJ can't do its business. Poisoned by politics. Unequal distribution of federal law. Cleo just said the Biden Justice Department is only coming to make it into a three-ring circus. That's right. To be exploited. Another way for totalitarians to take information and say, see, look at this. We've got to punish everyone for someone's crime instead of punishing the person responsible. But the more they can put this, as Cleo says, three-ring circus into play, the less people will say, how come that school was so unsafe that a guy with an AR-15 could just walk right through the door? Which is the real question. That's the real question. Nobody's asking it. Why aren't they asking it? Because that represents accountability. That represents accountability for people that should have figured this out long, long ago. Joe Biden himself helped author a law that said you can't bring a gun within 200 feet of any school in America. You can't do it. It's illegal. Well, how's that working out? There's nobody there to defend when somebody who doesn't give a tinker's damn about that law walks through to kill people. There's nobody there to defend them. The schools are unsafe. We don't take care of our children. Mike Renouy points out it's another day. We're still trying to figure out how an 18-year-old with no job was able to finance a brand new F-250 and 2 AR-15s. We still don't know where that money came from. Do we need the Justice Department to go find out where that money came from? I guarantee you that if they found out where the money came from, if the Justice Department did it, we'll never know. No, I think the chief of police of Uvalde, Texas, probably ought to find out where that money came from. I'm pretty sure he can do it. Pretty sure he can. And then he should pick up the telephone and call the local paper and the local television station. And even though it's a relic of the past, the local news station, the news radio station, and say, hey, we found out, and this is only theoretical. Yeah, we found out that George Soros gave the kid $10,000 down payment on the truck, because we were pretty sure that he wasn't going to be around to actually have to make all the payments. So you really just need a down payment. And he took his money and he went out there and bought those AR-15s. And started his day by killing his grandmother. And ended his day because a border patrolman shouldered past the police on the scene and ended the event, which should have happened 45 minutes earlier. And once again, I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking. I am simply reporting the news. Do I think that some righteous DOJ and officer of the law should come in there and fix it? No. No, I'm pretty sure that the chief of police of Uvalde, Texas will handle everything. Let's get out of his way, shall we? We're not the Federal Republic of the United States. We are the United States of America. We're not the Federal Republic of America. The federal government has no business in Uvalde, Texas. No. Uvalde can handle it. State of Texas can handle it. That way we might have a chance of actually getting the truth instead of a political version that empowers totalitarianism. You're listening to The Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment. Wow. Oh, boy. "20 seconds." I realized I could turn off the camera and you would see this. I don't want to. I don't think you need to see that. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number is 844-RADIO-US, 844-723-4687. I've just finished an excoriation of the Justice Department in their supposed investigation of what happened in Uvalde, Texas. And the reason that I've excoriated Merrick Garland, who was the Attorney General, and federal law enforcement in general, is because it's a part of an organization that, or an organization is a part of the Justice Department that can't get things done. I'm talking about the FBI. You see, the Justice Department, being a political organization as opposed to an actual Department of Justice, will investigate things that forward and further the political agenda. But if something doesn't fit the political agenda, then they ignore it. And we have proof, or will soon have proof. A few years ago, a guy named Larry Nassar went to jail for sexually abusing 150 United States female gymnasts. He was the team doctor for the U.S. Women's Olympic Gymnastics team. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing who pleasured himself with the bodies of these women he was tasked with keeping healthy. They became a collection of sexual toys for him. And when the word finally got out, the horror visited itself on the consciousness of the people of the United States. It was ugly and it was terrible, and he's in jail for the rest of his life. And if I had my way, his body would rot in his cell until that sentence was complete. And then you'd take the dust and the rot and the stinking bones, and you'd put them in a burlap sack. You'd fly them to the nearest ocean. Then you'd go out 150, 200 miles, throw that bag of bones overboard, erasing Larry Nassar forever. And so, when word got out, because it was a national endeavor, guess who investigated? Why, the FBI. 2015, they heard about the fact that Larry Nassar was accused of molesting gymnasts. In 2015, they were told that Larry Nassar was sexually molesting the United States women's gymnastic team and had been doing it for years. They found out in 2015. And what did the FBI do? Did the Attorney General of the United States go on national television and outline the parameters and the ideology surrounding a very important investigation to find out exactly what happened? No. No, the FBI did nothing. Nothing. They failed to act, allowing Larry Nassar to continue targeting young women and girls for more than a year. Maggie Nichols, who was a national champion gymnast in Oklahoma from 2017 to 2019, said, quote, "It's time for the FBI to be held accountable." She's completely correct. And that's why former Olympic gymnasts, including gold medalist Simone Biles, are among dozens of sexual assault victims seeking more than $1 billion from the FBI for failing to stop Larry Nassar in his evil work on the bodies of young women representing the United States of America. $1 billion. The lawsuit was filed today. Under federal law, a government agency has 6 months to respond to the kinds of claims, they're tort claims. Lawsuits could follow depending on the FBI response. The Justice Department said in May that it would not pursue criminal charges against former FBI agents who failed to quickly open an investigation. Why? Why? Why won't the Justice Department pursue criminal charges against former FBI agents who failed to act? Why? Because now they're going down to Uvalde, and what they're going to do is they're going to find out just why the police department down there failed to act. I'm sorry, you have cleanup work to do in your own house before you start going to Uvalde, Texas, and start telling those people what to do with their police department. Sorry, you just don't have the standing. You don't have it. The Department of Justice is a joke. The DOJ should be the Department of Joke. Wouldn't they pursue criminal charges against former FBI agents who failed to quickly open an investigation? Well, it's professional courtesy, of course. Hey, Bill, I'll take care of you on this one, but you owe me a favor. Yeah, just because you let Larry Nassar molest all those gymnasts and so on and so forth, there's no reason to declare you criminally responsible. Yeah, well, we're certainly not going to make that mistake again with you. Oh, your retirement? No problem. Full retirement. Well, medical care too. Sure. And yeah, write a book about how great an FBI agent you were. By all means, we'll rubber stamp that too. You just get after your own life there. Good luck. There are 90 claimants, including Simone Biles, Allie Reisman, Michaela Maroney, all Olympic gold medalists. A California law firm, Manley, Stewart, and Finaldi, has landed the job and said this, quote, if the FBI had simply done its job, Nassar would have been stopped before he ever had the chance to abuse hundreds of girls, including me, said former University of Michigan gymnast Samantha Roy. Indianapolis-based USA Gymnastics told local FBI agents in 2015 that 3 gymnasts said they were assaulted by Nassar, a team doctor. The FBI did not open a formal investigation or inform federal or state authorities in Michigan, according to the Justice Department Inspector General, an internal watchdog. Pity they weren't watching the internals of the young women being sexually tortured. Los Angeles FBI agents in 2016 began a sexual tourism investigation against Nassar and interviewed several victims, but also didn't alert Michigan authorities. Why? Well, because there was no political advantage in it. That's why. The FBI is a political action committee. Nassar wasn't arrested until the fall of 2016 during an investigation by Michigan State University police. He was a doctor there. The Michigan Attorney General's office ultimately handled the assault charges against Nassar. Federal prosecutors in Grand Rapids, Michigan, filed a child pornography case. He is serving decades in prison. The FBI declined to comment. That happened in April when a smaller batch of claims was filed, referring instead to Director Christopher Wray's remarks to Congress in 2021. Quote, I'm especially sorry there were people at the FBI who had their own chance to stop this monster back in 2015 and failed. And that's inexcusable. It's about to cost all of us $1 billion. And those women deserve it. They deserve it. They deserve that money for the damage that they have dealt with all these years. Those child dreams of Olympic glory, the unsparing hard work, just in the effort to become one of those people. And the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that have an Olympic dream that is never realized because they just don't have what it takes. I'm one of them. Was I a quick swimmer? You bet. Sure was. Really good at it, too. Till my body changed and I was done. Took about a year. At 18, I was one of the fastest guys people had seen. And by the time I was 19, I was just another guy that swims in a pool. But these people made it. The thousands of gymnastics competitions, the endless hours practicing an arcane art. So impossibly difficult that you see what they do to this day and you are amazed. Only to become sex toys for an evil man named Larry Nassar, who was empowered by the people who should have tried to save those girls, but didn't. Well, accountability comes calling. And it's not the Attorney General of the United States turning the Department of Justice's baleful Monday morning quarterbacking eyes on the police department of Uvalde, Texas. No, this is their own. The FBI who failed to act. Why? Well, because there's no political advantage in it. That's why. Because when you're the FBI and you're playing politics instead of actually doing your job suffers. That's why. The same people that tried to sabotage a presidency to the point where it was obviously a coup, they were busy trying to come up with some sort of political advantage for their buddies or themselves, or doing political favors for people like Hillary Clinton. I'm James Comey, and I can tell you that Hillary Clinton, who obviously broke the law 16 times, was not intending to break the law. She was just stupid. He was the guy running the show then. Which is why all those girls got to endure an entire year of sexual abuse by Larry Nassar because the FBI didn't act. Because they were trying to get Hillary Clinton elected, and boy, that's a lot of work. I mean, have you seen Hillary Clinton? Have you listened to what she says? We got a lot of work to do. Anybody who wants to run against her, we have to do FBI investigations on. Don't we? That takes manpower. We don't have the manpower to determine, what Larry Nassar's been doing. We don't have that, but we sure can take care of Hillary Clinton, can't we? Michigan State University, which was also accused of missing chances over many years to stop Nassar, agreed to pay $500 million to more than 300 women and girls who were assaulted. USA Gymnastics and the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee made a $380 million settlement. And now the FBI will at some point pay a significant amount of the $1 billion being sought. And that will probably be a secret hush-hush settlement that shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a secret hush-hush settlement. It should be out in the public eye so everybody can see it, everybody can hear it, everybody can be revulsed by it. Chances are that's not going to happen because it's not good for business. You know, we've got political work to do, and if we look like idiots, well, we can't do that political work. I just absolutely reveled in the work of Simone Biles, Ali Reisman, Michaela Maroney, and everybody else who did that work, enchanted by their abilities. I wonder how much better they could have been. I wonder how much better they could have been if they didn't have to think about the fact that they were being sexually abused by a doctor who was supposed to keep them healthy and unprotected by an FBI that was supposed to have their backs while Larry Nassar had their bodies. You're listening to The Wells Report. Back with more in a moment. You are listening to The Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. I'm the father of 4 sons, whom I adore. I'm a grandfather of 2 grandsons, whom I adore. Granddaughter on the way. Wahoo. There's nothing more fun than watching baby boys become little boys, becoming adolescent, teenagers, men. Their progression is... it's nothing more than joy. It's just nothing more than joy. I love my sons. They were wonderful. They were worthy of love and protection, and I have done that since they were born, and I do it to this day. another young son, 11 years old, went to a Mrs. Potato restaurant in Orlando, Florida. The stepfather took him there. It seemed odd to a waitress that the stepfather sat down and ordered a meal and didn't order anything for the 11-year-old. Then she noticed a big scratch between his eyebrows, saw a bruise on the side of his eyes. Tried to figure out what was going on and then said, I think I know what's happening here. So she wrote a note. She gained the boy's attention and passed him a secret note asking if he needed help. The bruised and battered boy looked at her, a waitress at the Mrs. Potato restaurant in Orlando, Florida, and slowly nodded his head. The young woman who put all this stuff together did not notice Flavienne Carvalho, or actually, I'm sorry, the waitress who put this together, Flavienne Carvalho, called the police without the stepfather noticing, or the wife at his side, ostensibly the mother of the child. She called the police. The man was arrested. He was found guilty of multiple child abuse charges stemming from an arrest on New Year's Day in 2021 at the Mrs. Potato. He was found guilty of imprisonment of a child under the age of 13. 13 counts of aggravated child abuse with a weapon, 4 counts of aggravated child abuse, and 1 count of child neglect. The reason why the little boy wasn't being fed is because he was being punished with starvation by this man. Carvalho told the local television station, "I could see the big scratch between his eyebrows. A couple of minutes later, I saw the bruise on the side of his eye. I felt there was something wrong." It was later learned the boy's stepfather routinely abused and tortured him. Medical officials discovered the boy had bruises across the whole of his body, was underweight. Carvalho told the television station, "I was used like a tool from God to help him. We need to pay attention for the ones that are in need, step forward and do something to change the situation." The little boy was so brave, he not only saved himself, he saved his little sister too. Officials said that on more than one occasion, the boy was isolated, endured forced starvation for punishment, was hung upside down, spent Christmas Day handcuffed to a furniture dolly. He was forced to complete rigorous exercises. If he failed in those exercises, he was beaten. Carvalho testified to the abuse at the trial, was credited with saving the boy's life. Justice was served, she said. Now, the little boy is healthy. He's being loved. It's clear on his face and the way he's acting that he's much better now. Because a waitress noticed a little boy in trouble, in the clutches of a man and a woman too, who could only see their own ideas of proper behavior beyond proper nutrition, beyond basic adoration that all children deserve. If you see something, say something. When I put this on the rundown for today's broadcast, I listed it under the heading heroism. I am glad that Flavienne Carvalho is a good woman. I have faith that there are many other good people. I have faith that if we pay attention to something beyond ourselves, we might just be able to save a life, like Ms. Carvalho. This has been the Wells Report. I hope you have enjoyed the broadcast. I hope I've shared information that helps you today. God bless all of you, and we'll see you again tomorrow for another edition of the Wells Report. So, dear ones, time to go. Please forgive me for screwing this show up so badly. I'll be better tomorrow, I promise. Okay? God love all y'all. I'll see you later. Okay? Until tomorrow, have yourself a wonderful day. Kiss the kids in your life.